So, this is the episode where I find out what happened at daybreak, but it's important to note we only ever get this from a human's point of view. It's too skewed to really, actually, genuinely understand what happened. I understand the data is coming from a human gear, but until we actively see the daybreak incident, actually from the point of view of a human gear, from someone who was actually there and remembers it, I still feel like we're too in the dark. We need accounts from both areas. Imagine if we'd have seen that from, say, Ikazuchi. We're told by Anna the bus guide, whose name does not relate to her job unless I'm missing some deeper hidden meaning, so that's nice, that's refreshing. We're told by Anna that Daybreak was going to be a city where primarily human gear worked, and, because foreshadow, the launch site for the satellite that controls them, essentially, because that's not at all disturbing. In a city where human gear are going to be forced to work unpaid, because apparently asking to be paid is bad, and human gear just need to learn how to be happy serving humans, there's going to be a satellite to control them. Let's hope no one messes with that, eh? The nuclear reactors powering the research facilities exploded, and it just completely obliterated the place, apparently due to a maintenance issue. Fua, however, in the last episode, he implied that that wasn't all, that actually human gear killed everyone. And I have to say, that flashback scene we routinely get of baby Fua running away from the hacked human gear, because remember, those human gear have all been hacked by the Ark. That scene isn't even real, is it? So we had two accounts, and one of them is extremely narrowly focused and the other isn't even real. And both were from humans to begin with. I want to see it from a Horobu's point of view. I want to know what happened to him and Ikazuchi and Naki and Jin back then. I want to see the other side of this incident. Show us that. Give us an actually rounded view of what happened, or don't pretend to know what happened. Anyway, then these arsehole kids start bullying this other kid because apparently it was his dad's fault, which is a horrid thing to do. Seriously, what is it with this series and teasing people over their dads dying and never being told not to? I am not good at judging age, but this kid can't be that much older than 12. I doubt he has that much of a memory of his dad since he died 12 years ago. And all he's been told is that his dad caused the daybreak incident, which is the worst thing in the world, and the kid needs therapy. But we all know therapists don't exist in the world of Kamen Rider. Then we get that flashback scene of baby Fua at daybreak, and I don't want to get too into that yet. I want to wait until the big shocking revelation happens, but just very quickly I want to brush over this by saying he is clearly extremely affected by these events, and even though we now know that it didn't really happen, he was never there, they're all fake put there by Guy, it really doesn't matter. Fua is not a reliable source of what happened because he wasn't there, but they're still images he saw and experienced. So whenever I dismiss this scene because we know better now, I'm dismissing it in terms of an accurate portrayal of what happened, not Fua's feelings on the matter. It's still very much a real thing that he personally experienced. I get so uncomfortable when Aruto calls a human gear an employee because, like, I understand it's supposed to be because he allegedly views human gear equal to humans, and I'm not suggesting he'd call them anything else, but hearing him say employee when talking to Anna when his company manufactures human gear to work unpaid for humans and to be decommissioned or killed when no longer needed, that's not an employee. And I genuinely don't remember being this creeped out when I first watched it. I remember being mildly irritated by certain things, but it's amazing what hindsight does. I have to say, I love how Aruto's identity as 01 was revealed to Fua. I like how it wasn't this big, dramatic, accidental thing, that he actually voluntarily exposed himself to prove that he's going to be transparent to Fua and there are no secrets. It actually showed great integrity on his part. I thought that was a great moment. Fua's been accusing Hiden of covering up the daybreak incident. Aruto realises he can't be insisting he isn't hiding anything to Fua while also hiding something from Fua. And if he reveals himself here, chances are he's probably not hiding anything about this. I genuinely thought that was a great moment and showed some kind of really subtle, clever growth on Aruto's part. Anna, Fua, and the kid reach the control room of the factory where the explosion happened, and Anna starts to look around for something that might be helpful, which I do like because I assume the history Anna talks about has just been installed. She's just essentially been handed this script, but here she is actively investigating, doing something I assume she hadn't been programmed to do. And considering we now know the arc via Horobi and Jin only targets Humagir who have already gained singularity, I feel like this is a really nice subtle indication that that's already happened with her. This is also the episode that shows how wonderful Fua is with kids. That's it, that's all I've got to say. Also, I have to appreciate the narrative here about everyone believing this kid's dad did something bad only for it to end up being a complete misconception. I don't know, something about that speaks to me. And Fua saying to the kid, if you don't believe him, then who will? Wow, yeah, if you won't believe in and stand by your dad when everyone else has the wrong impression of him, who will? Anna is the first and last, aside from Mikazuchi, who doesn't count, to resist the hacking. Don't quote me on that one. She plays the footage, and that's Zia's voice, isn't it? But Zia isn't a thing yet, is she? What's going on there? The guy, the dad, is in the control room and says, all Humagir have gone berserk. If we don't do something soon, the factory will explode. Factory workers have evacuated, and all that's left is... And then we get Horobi! And so the dad makes a sacrifice and blows up the place to blow up the Humagir and, as we now know, the Ark. And you know what? There's something poetic about this. We still don't know the details of Horobi being hacked in the first place, but given that he just wants a world where Humagir can live safely, and his son was the cause of his singularity, I can't help but theorise. So, given that, on one side, we have a dad fighting for a world where Humagir, including his son, can live freely, and on the other side, we have a dad sacrificing himself for humans, including his son. If we go with the theory that Horobi was initially targeted because his dream was already to create a world where Humagir can live, and that made him easy to manipulate by the Ark, both sides of the incident was just a dad doing what's right for his son. Can you imagine if Horobi's backstory had been expanded on? I so would have loved a parallel scene to this where Jin gets to watch what happened to Horobi, maybe during the time period where he was dead set on killing him. I'm so upset that didn't happen now. I really don't like how we never saw it from their point of view. It's just skewing the story. It's just too biased to get an accurate understanding. But I so would have loved something like that. The dad's last word was go, his son's name. Imagine if we'd have had Horobi's version of events and his last word before being properly hacked was Jin. That would have been such a cool parallel. Now I'm just going to be thinking of that forever. And this next scene was such a red herring to me because I thought from the start that Horobi and Jin were secretly Humagir, especially Jin. I thought they both were, but if it was only one, then it was Jin. And the main reason I thought this was because they both just acted like AI. Right from the start, like they're both so different, but they were both so AI-like. Especially since I was writing an essay at the time about child psychology and artificial intelligence, and Jin was just a perfect example of what I was saying, that I just really wanted him to be. But I also thought that because we can't see their ears, Horobi with his head wrap and Jin with his hood, but then Jin comes along without his hood, and it threw me, and I was like, no, my theory has to be right! Anyway, later on, something incredible happens in which the kids who were mean to go about his dad apologised for being mean. I mean, can you imagine apologising for hurting someone? Next episode is the manga one, and I'm thoroughly excited to delve into that because that's one I actually talk regularly about, just conversationally, so I'm looking forward to actually going back to that one.